What do you see when you look at a river like this? If you only see water and ordinary stones, here's something you should know. In the eyes of a professional prospector, that same river is a hidden deposit of precious gems. A single stone under your boot could be worth $20,000. Rivers, beaches, even long dry riverbeds, they all hold these disguised treasures. That's why the image of a prospector is tied to rivers. 2 reasons. First, these environments make searching easy. Second, any river might hold value. You only find out by looking. The stones get tumbled by water for thousands of years. Friction rounds them, polishes them, wears them down until they look like every other rock. But that worn surface can hide gem-quality crystal inside, so the question isn't whether gems exist in rivers. It's whether you'd recognize one when you saw it. What would you do if you knew a $20,000 stone could be sitting under your boot right now? Most stones in any river come from one family. Quartz. They're everywhere, worn smooth and rounded by thousands of years of tumbling against each other. Look at them closely, and most are cloudy, full of inclusions, worthless. But some aren't. Some rolled crystals are actually transparent. Smoky quartz, green quartz, blue quartz, rose quartz, dendritic quartz, hematite quartz. They look like ordinary pebbles at a glance. The friction rounds them down, dulls their shine. If you're already picking up stones, this is what you're looking for. That color, that clarity, that hint of translucency. The quartz family keeps going. Jaspers are petrified wood, showing up in all sorts of types and colors. And those orange-red agates, the well-colored carnelian ones, are worth something. Good cuttable pieces sell for around $20 a kilo. And they're not rare. You can collect a decent quantity from most any riverbed. Here's where it gets interesting. A stone that's clean and crystal clear inside, one you can actually cut, jumps to about 10 times that value. A smoky crystal like that isn't a $20 pebble anymore. It's a $200 find. So the baseline is everywhere, and most of it is worthless. But the gap between worthless and valuable, that gap is just clarity. Which makes you wonder what else is hiding out there, looking exactly like the stones you've been walking past. Now, not every clear stone in a river is quartz. Some of them are something else entirely, something heavier and a whole lot harder. Topaz is the look-alike you need to watch for. It's transparent, usually with a slight blue or yellow tint, and after years of tumbling in a river, it takes on a frosted crystal appearance. At a glance, it can absolutely pass for quartz. But it's not quartz, not even close. Here's how you tell the difference in about 30 seconds, right there on the riverbank. Hold 2 stones of similar size, one you're sure is quartz and one you think might be topaz. The topaz will feel noticeably heavier in your hand. That's because it's much denser. Quartz sits at about 2.6 on the density scale. Topaz averages around 3.5. That's a big gap. You can also test hardness. Rub the stone against an ordinary piece of quartz. If it's topaz, the quartz won't scratch it. And if a corner happens to be chipped, the topaz will show far more brilliance than a quartz crystal ever would. For a definitive answer back home, the relative density test using ordinary precision scales is laid out in detail, and our ebook link is down below. So what's a topaz actually worth? The average stone sells for about $20 to $25 per kilo. But find one that's bluer, higher quality, and that price jumps to over $200 per kilo. Cut and polished, topaz is genuinely prized in jewelry. Now, look at this little stone, garnet. It's a precious stone you can actually find in rivers without much effort. Garnets come in all colors, but the most common is red, usually with a deep burgundy hue. In some places, people call it Cape Ruby, but don't let the nickname fool you. It's not a ruby at all. Garnet forms in nature as a crystallized dodecahedron, a shape that's almost rounded. So river-worn garnets often look like smooth, rounded pebbles. They can be grayish, sometimes brownish, sometimes a bright, vivid red. But the real giveaway is the weight. These stones are heavy for their size. That same weight test from topaz applies here. Pick one up, feel the heft, and you'll know it's not just another river rock. The difference between garnet and most other stones is huge, and the value scales with quality. The deeper the red, the more translucent the stone, the more it's worth. If you're lucky enough to find a pure, translucent garnet, once it's cut, the market value can pass $40 per gram. That's a serious jump from topaz's $20 a kilo. But garnet is just the beginning. There's a stone out there that makes $40 a gram look small. Sapphires and rubies are the same stone. Scientifically, it's called corundum. When that mineral comes out red, we call it a ruby. Any other color, blue, green, yellow, pink, that's a sapphire. Both rank 9 on the Mohs hardness scale. Only diamonds are harder. Now, how do these giants end up in a riverbed? They start inside original rock formations. Over thousands of years, they break free. And because they're heavy stones, they sink. They settle into the lowest places, the riverbed, where they wait. Here's where the value gets wild. A low-quality stone, the kind you might find here in the United States, still costs upwards of $800 a kilo. That's already serious money for a rock you picked up off the ground. But a clean stone from Sri Lanka? We're talking more than $20,000 per gram. Not per kilo, per gram. The gap between those two numbers is enormous. That's the prize hiding under your boot. And it makes $40 a gram for garnet look like pocket change. So, what about diamonds? Could one be sitting in the river near you right now? The answer is yes. And here's a thought that might change how you see every pebble under your boots. It's actually much easier to find a diamond worth millions than it is to win the lottery. But hold on, before you grab a bucket and head for the nearest stream, let's be honest about what you're up against. Diamonds worth millions are rare. Extremely rare. That's because they're born in the very heart of the Earth, where heat and pressure are so intense they force plain carbon to crystallize into something extraordinary. Then, in a great volcanic eruption, they're blasted to the surface. And from there, time takes over. Rain, ice, and rivers carry them, sometimes for hundreds of miles, until they settle into a riverbed or wash all the way out to a beach. Some miners spend years working one river, sifting through tons of gravel, just to find a single diamond big enough and clear enough to change their lives. Years. That's the reality. But it doesn't mean you can't get lucky. Nothing is stopping chance from putting a diamond in your path. The real question is, would you even recognize it if you did? You've spent this whole video learning to weigh stones in your hand, to look for color and translucency, to let density be the final judge. But here's what actually changed. The next time you walk past a river, you won't just see water and rocks anymore. You'll see possibilities. That's the real reward, not the fortune you might find, but the attention you now pay to every ordinary stone. So go ahead, venture into the rivers near you. You might find something. And even if you don't, the looking itself is the point. So the next time you walk past a river, stop, look down. What do you see now? Not just water and stones. You see the rounded shape of a rolled crystal, the weight in your hand telling you a story. You see a potential claim. That's the whole difference. The casual walker sees a river. The prospector sees a question waiting to be answered. And the answer isn't luck. It's knowing what to look for. That knowledge is the edge. It's what turns an ordinary stretch of gravel into a place where a $20,000 stone could be sitting under your boot. And now you have it, the weight test, the color, the clarity, the density. You're armed. So get out there. Explore your local rivers. If you've made it this far, let me know what country you're from in the comments, and tell me if you've spotted any stones that caught your eye. Subscribe if you want to learn how to find diamonds in nature. There's a link in the description to the full guide. Good luck, gem hunters. Go find your fortune.